There you have it. Eric Cobbins and the Ministry. That's our theme music every time we get our week started off working on the building because we realize it's time to get back to work here on Morning Mocha. Well, I'm excited to see all of you who have tuned in this morning. And I hope you're spreading the word. Donna Sanders, good morning. Rebecca Lane, good morning. I hope you're spreading the word to your friends, coworkers, family members, neighbors, and inviting them to share this platform with us. If you're being blessed by the platform, I would so certainly hope that you would be gracious enough to share it with others. And you can be my mouthpiece and just tell them it's not a preaching platform. It's just a platform wherein we're just simply sharing practical wisdom as God inspires us to do so. You know, you can gain all kind of wisdoms just from your day-to-day occurrences of life, but you can definitely gain wisdom through the Word of God. And the wisdom that I share is based on the principles. Many of them are based on the principles contained in the Word of God. I do so because that's the way I live my life. I live my life trusting God, believing God, and I do so unapologetically because I, like the psalmist, I truly believe that God is my refuge and my strength, very present help in trouble. And those of you who have been walking with God any length of time, you definitely, I know you can say the same thing. You believe it as strongly as I do. I tell you, when you live your life by faith, you can definitely experience the beauty there is in walking and living according to the Word of God. Well, I want to jump right into what I want to talk about this morning. And I want to encourage you not to count yourself out, regardless as to what you're going through, regardless as to what you've attempted to do and feel like you have failed at it. Don't count yourself out. I wonder how many of you were tuned in this past Sunday to the Chiefs game. The most talked about sports news over the past weekend was undeniably the historical record-setting football playoff game of the century between the Buffalo Bills and our own Kansas City Chiefs. Listen, there are all kind of ways to describe that football game. It was a barn burner. It was a nail biter. It was a slugfest. It was a thriller to remember. That game was filled with all the ebbs and flows that a football fan could ever even have ever imagined to experience. It was filled with the highs and lows, the drama, the suspense. And as a sports fan, you couldn't have asked for a more entertaining game. Now, I know those of you that are not Kansas City Chiefs fans, you just kind of sit back. Don't be haters today. Just learn something. You can even learn something from some things you don't even like. Now, but for us devoted Chiefs fans, the game reached a point wherein many, if not most of us, thought that flicker of light that we refer to as hope was about to just flicker out. I must confess, I got disgusted, especially toward the end of the game. I had been riding that wave the whole game through, up and down, up and down, up and down, and got to a point where I just thought, I was thinking to myself, at least it looks like this one's over with. It looks like it. All within the last 2 minutes of the game, there was back and forth between the two teams, trading touchdowns, back and forth, back and forth. And on the last touchdown that the Bills scored with only 13 seconds left in the game, it appeared as though the Buffalo Bills were going to leave Arrowhead Stadium as the victors instead of as the defeated. There was a problem. The problem was there were still 13 seconds left on the clock. And Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs were about to get the ball. Now, to the average person, to the average viewer, 13 seconds doesn't seem like a very long time for a team to march down the field and to score. But Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, they're not average. Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs are an exceptional football team. They are professionals. They are very skilled at what they do. But most importantly, they obviously believed in themselves. I want you to think about that. 13 seconds left in the game. They are needing at least a field goal to tie it up. And they had to go somewhere in the neighborhood of at least 60 yards to be within field goal kicking range. Those of you that watched the game know how this whole scenario played out. The Chiefs tied the game. They went into overtime. The Chiefs scored a touchdown in overtime, and the game was over. But the point that I don't want you to miss is that hope remained alive for the Chiefs, even with only 13 seconds left on the clock. Now, think about this. Haters would call the win a case of luck. I want to suggest to you that winning happens when hope is met with maximum effort. Think about that. Y'all know that's good right there. Winning happens when hope is met with maximum effort. I need to say that one more time. Winning happens, because I want this to get down in your spirit. Winning happens when hope is met with maximum effort. Winning happens when one maximizes opportunity, regardless as to how small that opportunity may appear to be. Now, I'm hoping this is starting to resonate with you personally now. Regardless as to how small the opportunity may appear to be, some people just give up too quickly. They become too ready to throw in the towel. Here's what you got to understand. The difference between winning and losing, being victorious and being defeated, is the mindset. In sports competitions, you often hear commentators talking about which team has the momentum on their side at any point in the game. When one team is winning and they're winning big, but then their lead starts slipping away, that's when you hear the commentators say something like, the momentum has shifted. That simply means that the losing team is now doing all the scoring. How does that happen? It happens simply because the losing team, regardless as to how far behind they are in the game, never feel like that they're so out of it that they can't come back and take over and even go ahead in the game. Wow. Bless you, Pastor Grubbs. So glad to see you popped in this morning. He's going to be joining us once again, once his schedule permits him to do so. It's always good to see my brother. And then also I want to acknowledge my brother, Bishop Charles Carrington. God bless you. God bless you. Yeah, Bishop, I'm a little bit fired up this morning, and it's because of the win, but I think I'm a little bit even more fired up because of the lesson learned through the win. When the Chiefs were down in the last 13 seconds, they had to have the mentality that it wasn't over until it was over. They had to believe that they had enough left in them to come out victorious. Think about this. Now, what do you do in life when the chips are down and the odds are stacked against you? What's your response? What's your reaction? Do you continue to press in? Do you continue to keep hope alive? Or do you throw in the towel? Do you give up on your hopes and your dreams? Do you hang your head in shame and just start brooding and start complaining and start having the pity party and start declaring, oh, woe is me. The odds are against me. This thing is too hard. Everybody else has more of an advantage. Somebody ought to put that on the t-shirt. Rochelle, Deacon Will, 13 seconds. What you gonna do? Wow. You can accomplish so much in 13 seconds based on your mindset. You know what? In the church, we often have said, and we've based this on the principle of the story of Jesus feeding the multitudes with the fish and the loaves. And from that, we've come up with this phrase that says, little becomes much as you place it in the master's hand. You got to have confidence in the one that you've surrendered charge to. Think about this. One of the reasons why I truly believe that the Kansas City Chiefs came out victorious is because they believed in the person who was in charge. And that's on two levels. Number one, they believed in the head coach who's in charge over the entire team. Apparently, Andy Reid has the respect of the players. And the players have placed great confidence in him as well. Bless you, sister. Angie Proctor, God bless you for your blessing. But then on the next level, the players on the offense in particular have a great deal of confidence on the one who's in charge while they're on the field in the person of Patrick Mahomes. Now, one of the things that you can honestly say about both Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes is that even when things get tight, you never see them really lose their cool. In those last 13 seconds when the Buffalo Bills scored that touchdown and went ahead, kicked the extra point, and now they were ahead by 3 points. Chiefs are down. Of course, the cameras pan over to Andy Reid. And when they get the close-up shot of Andy Reid may have just as well been thinking, I wonder what I'm going to eat after this game tonight. He didn't look stressed. Now, he did look like he was observing what was taking place, and he may have been thinking about, okay, here's what we need to do. But there was no look of worry on Andy Reid's face. He never dropped his head. He held his head up. He remained focused. When they got a shot of Patrick Mahomes, same thing. He looked like, oh, well, I'm going to have to go in here and do something. And after they received the kickoff, Patrick Mahomes trotted out onto the field like he normally does, ready to take charge. He knew he had a limited amount of time left, but watch this. One thing if you know anything about football, professional football, the NFL, and how teams operate, they plan for adversity. They plan for tight times. They have specific plays for specific moments in the game. When it looks like they're about to go down, they have plans for and plays just for making a comeback. And the time is never too small for them to insert a plan. Thank you so much, Tisha Hillman, for your blessing. Joyce Dunn, thank you so much. There's never too little a time. And Patrick Mahomes ran out on the field looking just as confident as ever because he had been given the plan. When they got in the huddle, he let the team know, here's what the plan is. Those guys are giving specific instructions. If you catch the ball towards the sideline, get out of bounds because that preserves the timeout. It stops the clock. Thank you, Lady Ann. She helped me here. Here we go. She says, believe no matter what it looks like. Believe no matter what it looks like. And let me say this for the record, since she jumped in there like that, and this is honestly true. She came down into my man cave while I was watching the game there on Sunday. And when it got down to the very end, looked like we were going down, Lady Ann kept saying, we got this. We got this. They gonna pull it out. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know. Now, please understand, Lady Ann is not an avid football fan like I am. She'll tell you from the start, she really don't understand the game. Matter of fact, she analyzed the game for me while I was watching it. We're there watching it. She popped into my man cave for a minute, and Edwards-Helaire had been given the ball, and he was running the ball, and he got tackled. She said, "See, that's the problem right there. That's the problem with this game. They fall down too much." And I looked at her. I said, that's kind of the object. She said, if they wouldn't fall down so much. Let me post up here what she just said. Oh, Lord. She said, I know nothing about football. But I tell you what she does know. This is one thing that Lady Ann knows that all of us can learn a lesson from, even every football player. She knows how to hold on to hope. She knows how to speak the right thing. Man, y'all think about that. Wow. God bless you, Pat Hall. Thank you so much. She knows how to speak the right thing. Now, I try to make sure she understands, well, the other team is supposed to tackle them, the person with the ball. They're supposed to pull them down. They're supposed to keep them from going as far as they want to go. That's how the game was designed. And I believe that as she comes to understand that, she will appreciate and understand football a lot more. What's my point I'm making here? As we go through life, we've got to understand there's always an enemy that's trying to come up against us, that's attempting to keep us from getting ahead. The end zone for the football players, that's their destiny. The whole time they're moving down the field with everything coming up against them, they have their eye on their destiny, which is the end zone. Why is that so important? The end zone is so important because once they get into the end zone, that's when the payoff comes. They really never like settling for falling short of their desired goals. Why? Because the payoff is not as great. So many times in football games, you see where coaches, watch this, they settle for field goals rather than taking a strike at the end zone. Sometimes you got to throw caution to the wind. Sometimes you got to stand up against the odds. You got to say to yourself, you know what? It doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm not going to be satisfied with anything short of reaching my desired destiny. And what you really need to do is condition your mind to understand, yeah, I may have enemies that come up against me. I may have roadblocks in life. I may have hurdles and obstacles that I may need to overcome. But how many of you believers can say amen to this? But I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. When we make those declarations, we can't just assume that everything is going to be rosy and perfect at the time. You've got to know, and sometimes even expect some hurdles to jump up then. You've got to be determined that you have enough left in you to make it to your designated finish line. I've had some failures in my life. There have been some things I wanted to do that I didn't get done. And the reason why I did, for two reasons. Either number one, I never got started. Or I quit too early. I gave up on that dream too early. Wow. Talk myself out of it. I convinced myself that I just didn't have enough at the time. And see, here's another problem. Too many of us, instead of maximizing what we have, we tend to minimize what we have. And sometimes the greatest potential or the greatest value it is often realized at your deepest point of engaging or entering into that which you are pursuing. The reward is almost never on the front end. The reward is most often realized on the back end. Many of us fail at businesses because we expect when we open our business that customers and patrons ought to just flood in immediately, and that you ought to have just stockpiles of money from the time that you open the door. But if I remember statistics correctly, statistics would suggest that most businesses don't become profitable until after the first 3 to 5 years. Most people who are even now yet in very profitable businesses right now today likely lost money. It cost them more in the first 3 to 5 years than they could have ever imagined. But because they refused to give up, because they used what they had, as little as that may have been, they were willing to work what they had, endure the challenges, face the opposition, fight through the struggles. They can look back now and say, okay, the stress, the struggles, the adversities, but most of all, the perseverance, they were all worth it. It paid off because of perseverance, because of their willing to stick to it, to fight through it. You can't expect to win if you're the first one to count yourself out. Listen, when the chips are down and the odds are stacked against you, that's when you need to dig in deeper. Dig in, dig in, dig in. Get tougher. Talk to yourself. If you have a team, talk to your team. You know, I know I'm not going to say that there weren't any doubters on the sideline of the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night. I can't say that for sure, but I do believe this, that there were more believers on that side of the field than there were doubters. And when the Chiefs kicked that field goal and tied that game up and sent it into overtime, you better believe that the confidence level and the belief on that Kansas City sideline and throughout the stadium as well. Let me throw that in there. When the Chiefs tied that game up, the level of confidence it went through the roof. Let me say it. Let me say it like this: since there's no roof on Arrowhead, it elevated through the clouds. Let me put it like that. Yeah, okay. Man, when Butker kicked that field goal, tied up the game, the crowd erupted. The crowd erupted. Now, let me show you something on the flip side of that as well. One of the things that I noticed also at that 13-second mark, after the Buffalo Bills scored that touchdown, there was a great deal of celebrating going on the Bills sideline. Some of the Buffalo Bills had the audacity to try to get the crowd riled up as though they were playing in their home stadium. And they were waving their hands up, trying to get the crowd pumped up as though, y'all, we here now, we're about to win this. Come on, let's hear the cheers. Here's where I'm going with that. They celebrated a little too soon. Their celebration was premature. some of them, watch this. I guarantee you there was at least one of those players on that Buffalo Bills sideline who probably pointed at the clock, taunting the Chiefs fans. They probably pointed at the clock and said, 13 seconds. I'm quite sure there was some on the sideline of the Buffalo Bills saying, it's over. It's over. Y'all know how they do. But they're pointing at the clock. Really was just a reminder that you all still have hope. See, let me tell you something about hope. Hope is somewhat timeless. As long as you have it, you can win. Wow. Thanks, Terry Kazam. And I think you're referring to the Super Bowl against the 49ers. They did that to the Chiefs too. You see what the outcome was? Chiefs won. But here's my point with this. The old folks used to say, don't count your chickens before they're hatched. Don't become overly confident to the point that you become cocky. Now, after the game was over, I breathed a sigh of relief. I was celebrating, but there's a reality. And I hope the Chiefs had realized this, and I know they did. They of course they did, because Patrick Mahomes alluded to it in the post-game interview, where one of the first things he said after commenting on the game that just ended, he said, "We got another tough one ahead of us." He said the Cincinnati Bengals are a great team, and they're coming in here, and we know it's going to be a tough game. Now, watch this. Even in a win, you must temper your celebration, especially when you know the job isn't complete. When the Kansas City Chiefs entered into this season, the 2021 season of football, the prize that they yet have their eyes on is that Super Bowl trophy. They don't want to just get to Los Angeles and SoFi Stadium. They want to come out of there as the victors. You ought to feel the same way. Don't count yourself out. Let me ask you this. Do you count yourself out when things don't go quite as smoothly as you want them to? Another even better question, do you allow others to count you out? Because sometimes we can become easily discouraged by the rhetoric, the negative rhetoric of others, and we'll throw in the towel based on what others are saying about us, what others are trying to tell us we cannot do or you cannot accomplish. Do you allow other people to count you out? If anything, others trying to count you out ought to be motivation for you. I know there are some people who have this mentality. Last thing you want to do is tell them that they can't do something. And I'm one of those people. Don't tell me what I can't do. Don't tell me what's impossible for me. As a matter of fact, I'm the only one who, in my opinion, who's good and qualified enough to count me out. And as a matter of fact, I've done that over the years about certain things, talk myself out of certain things because I looked at what was stacked against me rather than what was before me that I had the potential to work with and to come out on the profitable side of things. There's one particular situation that I regret to this day that I counted myself out, that I gave up even before really giving it a try. I'm just going to be real transparent with you. Years ago, 20 some odd years ago, before there was ever a Chick-fil-A in Kansas City, period, I literally downloaded the application. It was a long application. It was an application to become a Chick-fil-A franchisee. And the fees at that time were ridiculously affordable. Me and my wife, as far as the fees were concerned, that was no problem. We would have been able to pay the franchisee fee, if you will. I started filling out the application, and it was a long application. And then I got to the point where all of the financial information, they started asking you about your finances and all of that. And we were okay. We listen, we didn't have a whole lot to brag about, but we could have met the obligation of what they were asking for, because I'm telling you, the requirements were minimal financially. But then I start thinking about a few scars. I mean, a few, not a whole lot, few scars on my credit report. I said, wow, if they see this, I'm not talking about anything serious. I'm just talking about a late payment here or there. I actually had convinced myself is that if I'm going to apply for this, I had to have excellent, flawless credit. And as I went through and filling out that application, I just decided, you know what? They're not going to accept me. And I just stopped the process. I stopped the process. I was on my way to possibly becoming the first Chick-fil-A franchisee in Kansas City, because they were opening things up then. And I gave up on myself. I counted myself out. One of the worst things I could have ever done in my life. And I regret it to this day. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because sometimes we just need to follow things all the way through. Follow them through to the end. Don't make any premature conclusions about what the outcome is going to be. You never know. You never know. There might be favor waiting for you at the end of that outcome. Bless you, Joyce Dunn. Thank you so much. Follow through. Thank you, sis. I say that all the time. Nothing beats a failure but a try. I was young. In my defense, I was young, a little bit immature. Didn't possess the wisdom then that I have now. Watch this. I was afraid of rejection and didn't want to fail. So if I didn't try, in my mind, I was saying I can never be labeled a failure. But the problem was I prematurely counted myself out. That could have very well been my 13-second moment. Woo, my gosh. I could have come out on the victorious end. And you know what? Some victories last for a lifetime. That could have been residual income. Wow. John McPherson, you say, yikes. You're pulling old scabs, shaking my head. I can attest to this. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm telling you, that's a good way of looking at it. Pulling old scabs. It can be so painful when you have those realizations. Look at what I could have done if I had just used what I had. If I had just taken the small opportunity and maximized that small opportunity. You know, I'm learning this every day. This thing is getting down in my spirit every day. It's been said, I read somewhere, that the average businessman, the average successful businessman fails 7 times before he hits pay dirt. And some interpret it this way: they're not failing. They're just having lessons learned along the way, lessons learned on their way to success. Because the reality is that there are times when there are gold nuggets in what we call failures. I shared this with you before. If I'm working on something and I try it one way and it doesn't work, I haven't failed because I haven't given up. I'm just going to try another way. Why? Because I still got 13 seconds. Oh my gosh. Woo! Anthony Dangerfield from Marietta, Georgia. Glory to God. Praising him from Marietta, Georgia. Welcome to Morning Mocha. You got to be somehow connected to Deborah. Deborah is our viewer from Marietta. She's so entrenched into our Morning Mocha family. We love having her on. She's connected to our Canaan Worship Center family. Her sister is a part of our Canaan Worship Center family. But yeah, listen, if you can just put that in your mind and your spirit, I got 13 seconds. This thing ain't over. See, listen, the victory for the Chiefs didn't come at the 60-minute mark. The game was just starting. Woo! But the victory was realized. It was initiated at the 13-second mark. Thank you, Jackie. She said, that's my brother-in-law there in Marietta. Again, all right. Deborah Dangerfield, she said, that's her sweetie. All right. Welcome, my brother. Welcome. But again, the victory the other night was initiated at the 13-second mark. It's what I got left, but I'm going to work with what I have. And here's the other thing I want you to learn from this, is that if you will faithfully and vigorously use what God has equipped you with presently, God will grace you to be able to do more. Where are you coming from with that one, Bishop? Well, okay, think about this. Because the Chiefs used what they had left, and they were intentional about what they were doing. They were hope-filled in the process. They were graced with even more. We call it overtime. Momentum has shifted. We call it favor. When you can be turned from the bad to the good, from the unfortunate to the fortunate, that's a momentum shift. And in the kingdom, we call that grace and favor. You know, in the scriptures, the book of Matthew, Jesus was talking about the end time. And I believe it's in the 25th chapter of Matthew. But he talks about how in that day, the Lord will say to those who's yet before them, who utilize what God had given them and did it to the best of their ability. He'll say, well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over little. Come, I will make you ruler over many, or ruler over much. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. That's what we want to hear, that we've been faithful over a little. Because when we're faithful over a little, God will grace us with much more. So here's what you got to do. I want you to ponder this, and I hope you will think about this the rest of your day. When the chips are down and it looks like time is running out, you must maintain the drive and the tenacity to fight through to the end. You must believe in the power of hope. Remember this, during crunch time, there's no room for doubt. During crunch time, you must believe in yourself when others have counted you out. Yolanda Goodwin, God bless you. Thank you so much. There's an old saying that says, and my dad used to say it all the time: winners never quit, and quitters never win. Which are you? You got to decide in yourself. Am I a winner or am I a quitter? And let me suggest this to you. Do like the Chiefs did the other night. Rely on your skills. Trust your abilities. But more importantly, hold on to your hope. Don't count yourself out. You're a winner. That's it, and that's all. That's all I have today. God bless all of you. I really hope that this has inspired you to no end. Some of you came on here and you didn't know that God was going to get all up in your space. Some of you were on the verge of quitting, giving up on something that He has inspired you to do. What you going to do with it? Don't start telling yourself what you don't have. Tell yourself what you do have and appreciate what you do have. It only takes 13 seconds. Bless y'all. I love y'all. Don't forget about TNT Bible Study tonight, 7 p.m. right here on this YouTube channel. And again, if this has really been a tremendous blessing to you, share this link with someone else and invite them to watch this particular episode of Morning Mocha. Again, I know some of you might have thought that this was all about the Chiefs, and I will say this, I've been drinking out of my Chiefs mug this morning, and I intentionally put on my Chiefs gear this morning. Some of you all couldn't see that at the time, but it wasn't so much about the Chiefs as it is about you and your success. All right. So if you're not a Chiefs lover, don't dismiss the analogy, the example that I use. If you want to, if it would make you feel better, you can create a scenario using your favorite football team. I'm good with that. Just as long as you get the message. Well, until this time tomorrow morning, as I often say, my desire is for you to have a blessed, wonderful, and even prosperous rest of your day. God bless.